Okay, part 4. Sorry. And his servant went straightway and did all things whatsoever his Lord commanded him, and after many days all things were fulfilled. And this is Doctrine and Covenants, section 101, verses 43 through 62. And now I will now tell you something that ought to comfort. Actually, I gotta say something. In Isaiah, it talks about the residue going among the highways at the top of the mountains and in the desert places. In Isaiah 35, it talks about the redemption of Zion being in the wilderness. This is in the tabernacle in the wilderness after the residue or the remnant of the people shall be gathered. And during the destruction of Babylon the Great, when the society is collapsing, these individuals will go and be led by the marred servant or the Davidic servant or Messiah ben Joseph, who is partly of the house of Ephraim and partly of the house of David. And he will lead them in the highways of the top of the mountains and into the desert places. And this place has been prepared by the Lord, and I know exactly where it is. And it is a place of refuge and safety while Babylon the Great burns down around them. And in the wilderness, as the residue or the remnant of the people are obedient, that God will reveal himself in the tabernacle that will be built there, and they will receive the fullness of the priesthood, and Zion will be redeemed in that place. And after the destruction and the fires have dissipated, those people will go forth from the tops of the mountains and the desert places, and they will be regathered into the center place of Zion and establish her among the nations. That's how this is going to happen. Continuing on, I will now tell you something that ought to comfort every man and woman on the face of the earth. Joseph Smith Jr. will again be on this earth dictating plans and calling forth his brethren to be baptized for the very characters who wish this was not so, in order to bring them into a kingdom to enjoy perhaps the presence of angels or the spirits of good men, if they cannot endure the presence of the Father and the Son. And he will never cease his operations under the direction of the Son of God until the last ones of the children of men are saved that can be, from Father Adam till now. Should not this thought comfort all people? They will by and by be 1,000 times more thankful for such a man as Joseph Smith Jr. than it is possible for them to be for any earthly good whatever. It is his mission to see that all the children of men in this last dispensation are saved, that can be through the redemption. You will be thankful, every one of you, that Joseph Smith Jr. was ordained to this great calling before the worlds were. I told you that the doctrine of election and reprobation is a true doctrine. It was decreed in the councils of the eternity, long before the foundations of the earth were laid, that he should be a man in the last dispensation of this world to bring forth the word of God to his people and receive the fullness of the keys and power of the priesthood of the Son of God. And that's Brigham Young, speaking about Joseph Smith in Journal of Discourses, Volume 7, page 289. I don't think Brigham understood completely about these things. So the reason why I have a problem with that, not that Joseph Smith can't come back, but remember there's two witnesses. Not one, there's two. One is the Davidic servant. The other one is a mystery. But Joseph Smith is a pure Ephraimite. And the reason why I do not believe that Joseph Smith is a Davidic servant has to do with Genesis chapter 49, where Jacob is blessing Joseph, and he says that the scepter of power, or the keys of authority, shall not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes. Well, as I've said before, Jesus Christ, he is a Jew. So the scepter of power did not depart from Judah when he came. Peter, James, and John were Jews, and the scepter of power remained with the house of Judah when they had them. But when Peter, James, and John gave the keys or the scepter of power to Joseph Smith, the scepter of power, the keys of the kingdom departed from Judah or the tribe of Judah to a man who was a pure Ephraimite, who was Joseph Smith. And that Joseph Smith is Shiloh. Now the Davidic servant is of the house of David, and David and his father Jesse were Jews. So when Joseph Smith has them, he is a pure Ephraimite. The scepter of power is not among the Jews when he has them, but it will be shared among the Jews and the tribe of Ephraim in the last days. The Davidic servant is partly of the house of Judah and partly of the house of Joseph. Doctrine and Covenants section 113 actually talks about this, and it's referring to Isaiah chapter 11, which is referring to the stem, the root, the rod, and the branch. When Joseph Smith asked what the stem was, Jesus Christ says in Doctrine and Covenants section 113, "Verily I say unto you that the stem is Christ," or meaning a Messiah. He did not say, "I am the stem." He did not say the stem is Jesus Christ. All he said was the stem is Christ. Now the Gentiles do not understand what a Messiah is. A Messiah is anything or anyone who is anointed to serve God. The temple utensils and furniture in the old temples were all called Mashiach or Messiah. Jesus Christ was anointed of the Father at the Mount of Transfiguration, and he is Messiah ben Judah. He is of the house of David. Messiah ben Joseph is also a Messiah that shall come in the last days, and he will be a Messiah to his people. And according to Joseph Smith, Moroni said that that this Messiah would be rejected by his people. This is Messiah ben Joseph. This individual is partly of the house of Judah and partly of the house of David. Now, if Joseph Smith was the Davidic servant, he would have to be of the house of Judah. But when the scepter of power was given to him, the scepter of power departed from Judah, as Genesis chapter 49 states. It departed from the house of Judah when a pure Ephraimite or Shiloh received the scepter of power and the keys of authority. Now, will Joseph Smith return to assist in the work? I believe he will. However, there's two witnesses. Joseph Smith is one. I am the other. So, anyway, and you know what? Brigham Young didn't understand these things. Anyway, continuing on, Brigham Young speaking about Joseph Smith. All right, so Joseph, uprisen from the grave like mound, his ancient and inglorious battleground, retreats with modern step, with painful path, where erst he fled, a fugitive from wrath. And that's Orson F. Whitney's Elias Canto 9. I don't know. And when you have finished the translation of the prophets, you shall from thenceforth preside over the affairs of the church. And this shall be your business and mission in all your lives, multiple lives, and to preside in council and set in order all the affairs of this church and kingdom. Doctrine and Covenants, section 90, verse 13 and 16. All right, going to do part 5.